I'm Jean Gray, founder and publisher of American Entrepreneurship Today, a website that brings news and valuable information to entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors all across America. Our podcast series, Experienced Voices, explores the journeys of very successful people in the entrepreneurial arena who are open to sharing the key elements that led to their great success. Our guest today on Experienced Voices is Jeff Wesley, the Executive Director of Spartan Innovations and Red Cedar Ventures, two subsidiaries of the Michigan State University Research Foundation, where he oversees venture ideation, creation, business planning, and investment. He's also the Executive Director of Michigan Rise, which partners with Michigan's tech entrepreneurs to help commercialize innovative technologies. Prior to joining MSU Research Foundation, Jeff was the CEO of Two Men and a Truck, the nation's largest moving company. He also served as the president of Acubite Dental Supply that was acquired by a Fortune 500 company. Our discussion will focus on the role that university research has within the entrepreneurial ecosystem, specifically the people and resources that make up this network. Jeff describes the pathways that entrepreneurs may take as they explore starting a company or commercializing their research. He offers insight on how entrepreneurs can best navigate within the Michigan ecosystem and pursue funding. So, Jeff, tell me about the foundation and tell me about the two subsidiaries that you are overseeing as executive director.
As part of my role, I work as the executive director for Spartan Innovations, Red Cedar Ventures, and Michigan Rise. It's actually three entities. Those three entities are subsidiaries of the MSU Research Foundation. The three subsidiaries of Spartan Innovations is a venture studio. Red Cedar Ventures is a funding arm with three early stage investment funds. And Michigan Rise is more of a statewide fund where we have a collaboration between the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and the MSU Research Foundation to invest in high-tech early stage companies in the state of Michigan.
That's great. So when we're talking about innovation, it really comes down to intellectual property. Is that there are entrepreneurs out there who are coming up with great ideas and trying to formalize them and then trying to commercialize them. So in your role, where is the intellectual property in these subsidiaries or in the university that people listening to this broadcast would say, oh, okay, I understand where my great idea could plug in to the foundation, the subsidiaries, or the university?
So we, in our role in our organization, we set in a very unique spot where we have IP coming from different areas with the entrepreneurs and startups we work with. So what most people would be familiar with is tech transfer, part of the Michigan State University that kind of works with faculty to assess the IP, to help us decide if a startup makes sense. And should that happen, we would be the next step that would step in to provide programming support and mentorship as well as funding to take that IP from the university and get it commercialized. On the other side, because of our statewide reach, we have entrepreneurs that come with various startups to us that have IP that they've already developed outside of the university to also support. As well as on top of the IP, we have significant startups in today's space that could have trade secrets or other innovations, but not necessarily have IP that we support.
Do individuals or aspiring entrepreneurs come to the university or to you and try to find intellectual property that they want to individually champion to commercialize?
Yeah. There's a great, obviously, universities and all the research at Michigan State University. Annually, there's about $700 million in research done. They're a top 100 university. So a great opportunity for people to connect with the university through our group or Tech Transfer or Business Connect to look for opportunities to find new research or opportunities where a new startup could be formed or added technologies could be licensed for an existing company that might be out there.
So if they're looking for a touch point, again, because entrepreneurs are on this sort of like very hazy road and they're just like sort of like bumping into door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. So you have the universities of the foundation. Should they be bumping into both of you, or because I know there's this cross collaboration that goes on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Universities are, there's a lot of components to a university in terms of engaging with one. I would say that we try to be a customer centric, one door to the university to help them connect to the right spot. When it comes to startups and opportunities around innovation, I think we're one of those key doors to open. I think in a lot of ways, most times we can help them, but if we're not the right connection, we're happy to connect them with our affiliated partners. The main thing is we want to make sure they're taken care of, and that can be challenging when you deal with big universities.
So what is the profile of the entrepreneur that's in your arena? Faculty, staff, students, external to the university? How would you describe, in other words, your potential customer base?
Yeah, great question. We really serve all the above. We could be working at Michigan State. There's a group within the university called the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship, where student ventures are launched. We could be working with a successful student coming out of there. We could be working with tech transfer as an opportunity coming out of there, or we could just be working with a statewide entrepreneur. What's nice is we have a host of programs, accelerators, funding opportunities, entrepreneurs in residence to partner with these companies, and a team of people that have different expertise around venture fundraising, life sciences, physical sciences. So we're kind of a one-stop shop for entrepreneurs. However you connect with us, our job is really to work with you and help you get down that commercialization track and help you to be successful.
Can you share a success story that sort of highlights someone who walks in the door and the light bulb is not yet going on, and you have facilitated their journey in the best possible way?
Yeah. We first I'll just share some metrics with you to give you some scope. We work with over 100 companies today. We invest that are active. We invest in about 60 companies a year that are very early stage. We've invested over the last 4 or 5 years about $18 million. Those companies have leveraged that to go raise $700 million. So we have a very robust, successful track of startups that we've either helped accelerate out of Michigan State University or helped throughout the state. So we're really proud of that. And there's a rich history with the MSU Research Foundation with its successful launch of the drug cisplatin and carboplatin that helped form the foundation, as well as a successful company here called Neogen that's got a market cap of over $2 billion. That I think the first 50,000 came from the MSU Research Foundation to help form that company.
So every entrepreneur wants to know where the money is. So
yeah,
I'm knocking on your door. We know there are angels. We know there's venture capital. We know there's grants. Tell me what I should be thinking and where I should be going.
Yeah, so we're one of those key places in Michigan. So when we working with the university, we have access to funds around grants like translational grants, and that we have capabilities to help with. We have statewide grants in that space that we can help with. We have the ability to go out there and support them on other grant opportunities. But on top of that, we run a series of funds. We have a very early stage pre-seed fund that we can put those early dollars in to help a company get formed and cultivate its idea. We run an accelerator that has funding attached to it. But what's really unique about us, no matter where you are in that funding journey, as you might say, that's so important to an entrepreneur, we have the ability with our funds to kind of follow you. So unlike some people where you might stop in at this stage, we actually have follow-on funding to follow you all the way up to a Series A, Series B, and help participate in that too, which is unique and kind of one of the value adds that we provide.
When an entrepreneur is starting down the road, how important is it that they, it's the elevator pitch, and then there's the pitch deck, and then there's the knock on your door. So give a framework for an entrepreneur, again, who's listening to this, and they yet have not come across the arc that they're going to go through to finally get where they need to be. So explain a little bit about what their mindset should be and what skill they need to have and what skills they need to add to get that money.
Yeah. I always tell entrepreneurs, as you're starting your company, you're trying to refine your pitch deck. Get out there and pitch, get out there and refine the deck as many ways as you can. There's so many people that are out there to help you. And in the state of Michigan, we have 21 smart zones you can connect with. There's tons of pitch competitions. Get a mentor, get somebody early in your, that's gone through this journey before. I just think it's so important. You only have so many opportunities to get capital, to impress people. And it's a great world right now. There's so many opportunities to look at. So make sure you go do your homework, be prepared, get some support, and, don't go pitch your company for the first time and not have somebody look at your deck. That's a problem. And you'll even find, which I find comical, no matter who you pitch to, they all have a suggestion on how to change your deck. But that's good. At the end of the day, your job is to take good advice from a variety of people and put yourself in the best position for success.
So if I'm a scientist or a really intense techie somewhere in your arena, are they the person to be looking for money?
Yeah. Generally, when you have people that have that background that is very scientific, they're not the best at developing a startup and commercializing it. You need somebody with that business sense, that business background, that has previous experiences being a CEO or playing that role. That's not always the case, but we do find that they're unique and good at what they do, but they're not necessarily good in the startup space. So we try as much as we can to form the right team, looking at the skill sets of the people involved. It does take a team to be a successful startup, but that comes into play a lot. We also try to give them perspective. It's great to have an innovation that's really unique and different that can change the world, but it's just an innovation at that stage. There's a whole different journey to get it to be commercialized. And it takes a variety of skills to make that successful. And obviously time is important in that journey.
So you're dealing with, especially on the science side and maybe as much so on just some of the, the pure tech, is where do I go to form this team? So, there's just general networking out there, and you've listed a number of resources, but, we try to kind of give them a few steps that they should be taking to step outside of their very sort of isolated position as a researcher. So what doors should they knock on to start shouting, I need to find someone who is, business savvy, who will partner with me or eventually become a team member?
Yeah. With startups in every part of today, finding talent is a big part of finding the best path forward. We do help with that a lot. We find we have somebody with a startup and they say, hey, do you know a CEO that could launch this company? Where can I get some marketing assistance? So within our ecosystem, we try to keep a list of people that know we are starting a lot of companies and looking for people. So whatever that area of expertise that they might be looking for, that we try to provide names. But we also network the state with other venture firms and angel firms as to people that are available, because not only do you get somebody that's talented that can lead a company, but they also have connections to funding. But at the same time, we really work with the various entrepreneurs to say, who do you know and who's in your industries that we might connect with to find another person to add to your team. Usually there's not one source for talent, but it is an important issue, and it is one where you want to have as wide a network as you can and work with as many people as you can to find the best team.
So the entrepreneurial journey is one of really a person becoming very self-actualized, just continuing to build their own skills. So just in terms of sort of a little bit of a checklist, because you mentioned marketing, we've talked a little bit about funding, is so where can a entrepreneur in or outside of the university or in touch with the foundation can start the path of just saying, I need to start going someplace where it opens up my understanding of the skills that I need to go forward? Are there venues or even individuals such as mentors that they can hook into and just give a confessional of what they don't know?
That's a good way to put it. I like that. I would say that, we have a variety of programs. Like we run 2 accelerators. So we like to get deep into the business and try to break down the business model canvas and look at all aspects of the business, from financial to marketing to legal. And we have various partners that we work with to come in to give them support in those areas. At the same time, if they're a little bit earlier or later, we have entrepreneurs and residents and mentors in residence that we can assign to the companies. These are people that bring different aspects of experience with startups that can help facilitate and do a deep dive into the company and see where their strengths and weaknesses are and backfill it with working with our team and our relationships to try to get the skills in there that the company needs. For the entrepreneurs, I just think it's important. We're all prideful, and we should always all be learning each day. Just do a good self-awareness of where your company is and what is your weak spots when it comes to marketing or sales or accounting or legal. Sales and marketing, I find a lot of times is challenging for inventors. They're really good at what they build and what they have, but they don't recognize that a product doesn't sell itself. That's a skill set that you really need to have on your team to be successful.
I was going to say that's a very hard learning point for a person who is very passionate about their idea or their intellectual property. So that was going to lead to my next question was, so give me some examples from your experience where entrepreneurs have become their own impediment to becoming successful.
That never happens. No, that happens. Yes. We have a team. Within our team, a lot of us, try to share stories of what we've seen with our portfolio, with our startups, what worked and what hasn't worked. And we try to be good mentors to get that across to our startups. Sometimes you'll see challenges where one voice isn't enough or our team isn't enough. Some of the things we've tried where you run into trying to open the mind up, as you might say, is we have gotten other founders to come in and speak to certain startups that have walked the journey, have carried the bag, as you might say, from an old school perspective, that help them to maybe break through and change that mindset that might be needed. So we try a variety of things. Sometimes, if we're really challenged, we'll just have a sit down. We need to all get in a room and, have one of those moments where you sit down for 3-4 hours and really talk about where we are and what success looks like. And why I bring that point up, other than bringing another voice, it's an important aspect. And sometimes you need to go into it deeper and really challenge what are we trying to do together and why. That why sometimes will help you break that barrier and maybe open up that mind a little bit as to what we need to do next.
So the venture capital firms and the angel investors, they throw around the term coachability. Coachability.
Yeah.
So when a entrepreneur is hearing that from they're sitting and listening to a panel and they throw out the buzzword, and you're dealing a lot with personality issues. So kind of describe a little bit about what that means when an entrepreneur is being told they need to be coachable.
Yeah, personally, I think it's huge. One of the first things we look at is the person and the team, as well as the innovation. Particularly where at the stage we play, we're very early stage investors. So when you're very early, it is really, can we work with this person? Can we help this person? Can we make a difference with this person? So to us, that coachability is critical. It's also for us very important. We recognize people are different. Do we have the right person working with them to make sure that the impact of what we have is the best we can do with this individual? But a lot of times to me, that's the number one issue when we choose to invest in a company is, can we make a difference? Obviously, we want everybody to be successful, but we respect both sides and we want to be value added. And if that engagement or relationship isn't there, they need to find that person that can work with them. That makes the most sense. But I'd like to say we can work with everybody, but that's just not the case. It doesn't make sense for us. It's like a marriage. If you can't get along, you can't work with each other. It just doesn't make sense to continue moving forward.
So that kind of touches on when the other buzz, maybe a buzz statement is, the funders say we're betting on the jockey, not the horse. Explain a little bit about, I just came to you and I have the best idea and I have the expertise, but we invest on the jockey, not the horse.
Yeah, those are I like to get both. You don't always get both. And those are where the tough decisions are. I've had that question asked to me, what's more important? How do you evaluate it? There's a lot of finesse to that. Like I said, you like to see a great team with a great innovation. Those are the perfect opportunities. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time to cultivate that, to really get in a position where both are in sync. I guess my answer to it would be to all entrepreneurs is have both. Work on getting so you come in and your mind is open. You're willing to work with somebody. You're willing to be a lifelong learner. You understand success happens through collaboration and cooperation. Don't come in with the attitude you got it all figured out, you know everything, and you're going to conquer the world just because you got a good idea. I think that's important, and I think it's important that everybody brings humbleness to what they do. And if you look at anybody that's been successful, they will tell you through their journey they didn't have it all figured out, and there's people that have impacted them. So I guess that's the message I would say to anybody it's going to look for venture capital or work with somebody, and just recognize that.
And so since a lot of the intellectual property is coming out of research within the university, we discussed that there could be a sort of a person who champions that partners with with the researcher. So explain a little bit about how, if it's you or other funders, does someone on the team have to be working full time on the venture? Because, if you have a scientist who's in the university and they're going to commercialize that, they're not really giving up their position in the university, right? So it becomes a little bit of a tug and war between, we're going to start do this startup around this intellectual property, but what are the requirements for funders or even for your teams to get involved part-time, full-time? What are your expectations for them?
Yeah. We like to think we're supportive of everybody at whatever stage they might be. Even before a startup is formed, we try to engage and provide advice and support. But really, we kick in after a company is getting formed and that decision has been made and there is somebody that's going to be assigned to the company. And typically, that's not the faculty member in that case. To your other part of that question in terms of working full-time and part-time, typically, with any startup, there's a window of opportunity for every innovation. You want to see commitment. You don't want to see companies that are just stagnant, that the work isn't being done. There is probably some exceptions. Things take a little bit longer when you're dealing with therapeutics and some of the things in life sciences. You have to be patient. They're not going to turn into a startup in 12 months. They have to go through kind of a grant support process, and it takes longer to get the science right and all that. But generally, we want to see a company formed, a team formed, people working full time. The entrepreneur spirit has to be alive and well. You have to be really passionate that you have a window of opportunity and you need to make things happen. And obviously the funding model has to be aligned with that. So you can't waste time to be successful.
So let's sort of wrap up our discussion around maybe a checklist of resources. So is there I-Corps happening out in Michigan? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we participate in the regional I-Corps program as well as the national I-Corps program with many of our startups. That's just one of many things we do. We just recently launched ourselves within our team capabilities an SBIR STTR accelerator to help with early innovations. And then, like I said, the university as well as the state has several programs to assist. We run accelerators. We run educational programs and training programs around bringing in panels to help people in terms of different aspects of commercializing a business and starting a business. We connect them with different angel events. So we have a variety of mechanisms and programs to really try to connect, engage, and really bring value to the startup process.
And my last question is, what are some of your thoughts or insights about what is trending? Things that are happening around you or you're aware of that influences, an entrepreneur funding or really when they're trying to make big decisions, or are there specific even technologies that are trending that you're pursuing that you would love to have them come to you?
Yeah, that's, I just think it's a great time for innovation wherever you travel this country. Even with COVID being upon us, it's really accelerated things in healthcare and ways to look at things differently. There's a lot of great trends in the state of Michigan, but around high tech, high growth, innovation and mobility and agriculture and energy, and quantum computing. Around the university, the goal of the university is, at MSU is to move from $700 million in research to $1 billion in the next couple of years. We're very blessed to hear we have the FRIB, which is the world's leading rare isotope facility here at the university. Their goal is to be a global leader in nuclear physics here in the coming years. So we're excited about innovation coming out of the university. We're excited about working with MEDC in the state of Michigan and the initiatives they're doing to move Michigan forward. And we're just really excited. We just recently attended a Big 10 event around the Midwest and looking at ways to coordinate and connect together in the Midwest around innovation and technology. So just a great time to be in this space. And hopefully our team is making a difference with a lot of other great partners out there that are trying to do the same.
Well, Jeff, this was a great talk with you about what's happening out in Michigan. And I can readily see where the entrepreneurs who are surrounding you have a great pathway forward. So I look forward to keeping in touch with you, having you keep us up to date on some of your important milestones and achievements over the coming months. But I think you've given a lot of information for the entrepreneurs who are in your state or even outside trying to determine the best path forward. So we will return for another chat maybe in the future and see how things are going. I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you for making time, and thank you for just being a voice for startups out there, which is so critical for their success. So thank you.
You've been listening to the podcast series Experience Voices, hosted by Jean Gray, publisher of American Entrepreneurship Today. Sign up for the series at AmericanEntrepreneurship.com/podcasts.